Hi everyone, welcome back to Flow Academy. I'm Charlie. So today we will begin our World History series. And we will start with the first sections of the first unit, the global tapestry and the developments in East Asia. When we talk about 12th century East Asia, often we refer to China. And this period is also the peak and the most flourished period in the Chinese history. As we can see from this picture, people hustle through the street and the scene is blatant. And the name of this period are Tang and Song Dynasties, though today we will mainly talk about Song. The objectives for this class is to first, you should know the reasons why Tang declined and the reasons why Song rises, and also the fall of Song as well. Second is the central religions at this time and its impact. Third is the technology and the trade, and how it's going to influence the countries nearby. And that leads to the last objectives, is influence. So let's start our class by introducing the bureaucracy at this time. So the bureaucracy at this time is very unique and very mature. So this bureaucracy reached from the imperial palace down to the district, and which was roughly equivalent to an American county. And it includes one secretary who drafted royal decrees, and one person to monitor the local notables. And there will be six executive departments, which are personnel, finance, rights, army, justice, and public works. And there will be one censors to keep track of all the officials. And at last, there will be a large staff to run the imperial household. And when we talk about like Tang and Song dynasties, there's another salient point, is the growing importance of examinations. So why examinations is so important to many people? First, the success in exam will bring you prosperity to yourself, your family, your town, and all the people around you. So it means that if you got that title, 进士, like if you just passed the test, then you're gonna influence so many people, not only yourself, and maybe your district will be famous, and you're just like the movie star at this like presently. But still, birth and lineage are more important, like means your blood, are more important than your task in Tang Dynasty, because most of the high officials will stabilize their positions for years, and they will pass down this position to their son or their offsprings. So for normal people, you might if you pass the test, you might have a position in a court, but your jobs is not going to be that high or very prestigious. And this is the scroll painting of the life of high officials. And as the scroll painting suggests, the exclusively male members of the scholar gentry elite enjoyed the lives of privilege, and which included at the higher level servants and retainers. In addition to their administrative duties and scholarly pursuits, these highly educated individuals tended to be polymath, who might write poetries or painting the balsam plum tree in their gardens, travel to the mountains or forests to do the meditations, and we can see that all these activities are actually beyond their duties. So the central religions in Tang Dynasty is Buddhism. And the reason why Buddhism is so popular in Tang Dynasty is because all the royal families are very supportive toward Buddhism. And the emperors will like dispatch some people to go on a pilgrimage for the Buddhist scriptures. So under this circumstance, there are around 50,000 monks and nuns at his peak time, and the Empress Wu will support to build pagodas, and the emperors will he's going to build monasteries for the monks and nuns. So when we talk about Buddhism's like its influence in Chinese history, we often refer to the art and sculptures. So just like these pictures, look at the deity sculptures and the Buddhas and the great temples. So to compare between Confucianism and Buddhism, Confucianism has more impact, like more contributions in the politics, to how to manipulate a country. But Buddhism's didn't in history. Buddhism's never became a national religion in China. So we only talk about its art and sculptures when we talk about Buddhisms. And the Buddhisms that we are talking about right now is called Mahayana Buddhisms. And it is quite different from the original one because people invented this in order to attract more people in China. So not for too long, the Tang dynasties, like the entire dynasties, started to corrupt. And the main reasons are the romantic relationships of the empress and Yang Guifei, and her family's members occupied all every corners in the court, and some revolutions. So after the declinations of Tang Dynasty, there was a short period of chaos, and uh, like all the chaos, there will be fightings between each countries and so on. So there will be a hero, always be a hero, to stand out to unite the countries. So our hero this time is called Zhao Kuangyin, and he and his army actually defeated all the enemies, all the possible enemies they had. But to say completely united is not precise, because he and his army cannot defeat northern nomads. And at that time, maybe Zhao Guanyin said, "Okay, nomads, it's not a big deal." But actually, these nomads play a very big deal later on. So when we're talking about Song dynasties, many people will think that Song dynasties is the most prosperous dynasties in Chinese histories of poems and literatures. And let's see why people think like that. First, it is the anti-Buddhisms. At that time, there are many revivals of Confucian thought, it is called the New Confucians, and this is a new doctrines. And the characteristics of this new doctrines is to be hostile to other religions, not only religions, but also artifacts, foods, and cultures. And that's why when we say the most flourished dynasties in Chinese histories, in economy, we will say it is Tang dynasties rather than Song dynasties, because Tang dynasties will open their boundaries and to allow new cultures to come in. The other one, the other characteristics, is the occupational rules. It means that the son has to serve the father, and wife has to stay with the husband. And if they break the rules, they're not going to be a moral people. And this new Confucians also explain the ideas of male dominance. And since then, there was a new tradition called foot binding. So another characteristics of Song dynasties is that only the civil officials were allowed to be governors, and this reduces the power of aristocracy. And so it means that the governments put more attentions on the examinations, and then the examinations is the only way to evaluate the potentials of a man. So more and more people is going to prepare for these examinations, and the scholars change into administrators. So in the past time, maybe those high officials used to be the generals and those who are very good at fighting, but right now, those scholars who are very good at paintings and drawings change into administrators. I'm not saying that this is a bad thing, but once the scholars' power were much over the militaries, and once you walk in into the capitals of Song dynasties, you will find that all the your principals or your administrators, they're all drawings and paintings. Then what about the troops? What about the soldiers? No one is going to train them. So this is the main reasons why we when we talk about Song, is a weak dynasties, and it has a very weak boundaries. So the last characteristics of Song is the constructions of new libraries, because the revival of Confucian thought, it has to revive many classical documents. So it's our map time today. The map in the left is the Song Dynasties in the 1100s, and the map in the right is the Southern Song Dynasties, just 40 years later. We can see that only 40 years, see how much territories they lost. So we can see that the weak boundaries were the governance of the military aspect. So we have this kind of the government that focus too much on literatures and culture stuff, but no, like nothing on militaries. So it's very easy to know that it is very near its death. So the sign of decline of some are listed here. First is the failure of Wang and Shi. Like, well, he tries to reform, like he tries to change something. He said, okay, we can't focus too much on literature. We have to train our soldiers. But unfortunately, he lost. And the next is the weakness of the Song government. Well, this weakness can be shown in many aspects, but the most harmful one is the huge amount of tributes to the nomads. They will say, like, chill, bro, just chill. We will talk about this. Like, we will negotiate. Just don't kill us. We have money. We collected taxes from our people, and we will all give it to you. So they will like pay tributes to the nomads annually, and you can imagine that like how many monies can be used in like to train the armies. And the last is the rise of Jin Kingdom. The rise of Jin Kingdoms means the decline of Song dynasties, and the results proves to be right. So after a brief introductions of Tang and Song dynasties, let's see their influences in the world. First is the technology, and here are some examples of the advancements of technology. First is the new way of farming, because the emperors of these two periods encouraged farmers to go to new places, the north of China, and to grow new seeds. And they're also using some very like advanced tools, and they're very efficient. So the efficiencies of growing increase a lot. So the national economy also increase. Then there are many other inventions like paper money, powders, compass, and the inventions of paper money is to prevent the inconvenience of like carrying the coins for thousands of miles, and also to prevent robberies. And powders, like initially powders was kind of a fireworks for the emperors to relax, but wise men saw this and said, okay, so if powder can blow in the sky, why can't they blow on someone's face? And so powder became a kind of military service. And so we can see that after the growth of economy and the flourishment of these two dynasties, the technology in these two periods is also very advanced. And the next thing is the trade. And trade is going to enhance the economy of regions alongside. And what it means is like in Tang dynasties, they reopened the Silk Road, and all the regions along the Silk Road is going to benefit. Because for example, in Yunnan, they got like some very good resources, but they don't have they don't know how to spread their resources to a broader market. So this Silk Road is a very good opportunities for them to sell their products. And the other one is the Chinese people started to grow and sell products in order to sell them to a broader place. And it stimulates the local economy too. What it means is that in the past, people will grow their own food and to supply themselves with the food they grow, and so they are kind of just supporting themselves. But right now, they take the food they grown and to the stalls and the shops, and so they are going to sell this to a broader like customers, and also they might gonna take their foods to some places elsewhere out of China, and so their markets got enlarged. The opens of the Silk Road in Tang dynasties also spread cultures, because the furthest place where this trade routes reaches is like Islam or India. So many cultures will enter into China, but simultaneously China will also influence countries nearby like Japan. And like Chinese tea cultures or architectures influence Japan a lot. So if you go to the capitals in Japan and the capital in China, you'll find that the architectures are really similar. And also, like many nomads learn Chinese culture too, just like the northern nomads I talked about a few minutes ago. They learn Chinese culture, customs, and food language, and so that's why the dynasties after Song dynasties, say dynasties that's ruled by nomads. And that's all for the first sections. And if you have any questions, just contact us. And thanks for watching. So if you like our videos, please give us a thumb up and subscribe our channel.